guys. Welcome, everybody. It's great to have everyone here for the Giants Live World Tour Finals tomorrow. We've got some great athletes in this little conference here. Paul O'Dwyer from Ireland, Eddie Williams, of course, the man from Burkina Faso, Biby, our log world record holder, and Terry Hollands, a multiple World's Strongest Man finalist and also a Britain's Strongest Man winner. So Terry's joining us in the press team tomorrow. So if anyone has any questions, please ask away. Obviously, Biby was the man last year who, after 16 years, managed to break the record of Zydrunas Savickas in what is the blue ribbon event of Strongman. Biby's going to be a guest tomorrow. The rest will carry on with four other events. This is a pentathlon of power. And yeah, so if anyone has any questions, please just fire away.
The first question is for Biby. There's been a lot of talk online about your 2:29 world record. How do you feel about that? You've not really had a chance to come out and speak about it.
Yeah.
So what are your views?
Thank you for your question. And yes, I've seen a lot of negative posts about it, but I knew I trained hard for it. And I always show up. I've been chasing world deadlift record since 2018, and I keep coming back every year. So tomorrow I will, I will break the record again, and nicely. So make sure that people, but like I said, people will always talk, but I will make sure to do a good job again.
And I saw your video online, the 200 kilos for 3 reps.
Yes.
Based on that, you still think 230?
Yes, because it was like last training before the big day. So what I did, you saw 200 for 3, but we also did like 160 for 3, 180 for 3, 200 for 3, and it was after a long trip. So yes, I believe I'm capable to do 230 tomorrow, and I'm feeling stronger, especially in my mind. So it's mind is everything. I'm very excited to put on a great show tomorrow.
This one's for Colin. We've got 3 World's Strongest Man titles competing tomorrow and more finalists. Is this the biggest one-day show on earth?
Absolutely, and this match for the biggest one-day prize money ever. Giants Live this year has, or will, by the end of this year, it will have dished out nearly $700,000 of prize money. And tomorrow, yeah, as I said, it's the biggest prize money ever. And if Biby gets the record, it'll be a whole lot more, actually. And I think tomorrow 230 kilos will go. Heck, he might do 230 kilos and ask for more. Biby is that strong at the moment. He's been expanding the operation. Look at this. He's looking massive. I think to all those people who've talked about, a word about Biby, talking about people putting down his record online, come and watch tomorrow is what I say. Come and see this man lift 230 kilos. Nobody is in the same league as this guy. And I've seen just about all of Zydrunas' world records, and Biby. Although he didn't get it in the previous 3 world titles, he's now 4 world title holding champion, and tomorrow hopefully 5. He did that after what was, he probably couldn't have had a worse setup. Exhausted, suffered the loss of his father, and if it wasn't probably due to divine intervention, he probably wouldn't have got it. It was the worst I'd ever seen you 2 years ago.
Exactly, yes.
And so wait till Biby right this year comes out and shows you what he can do. I think it'll be without doubt. In fact, you might do it for a double rep, maybe. I'm hoping.
Finger crossed.
Can I just add something to that as well? Because I was at the Glasgow show when you did the new world record, and I had quite a lot of people say, "Did he lock it out? Was it good?" I've refereed probably 50 shows or more, and I definitely would have given that lift on the day. I thought it was perfectly good. I've actually sort of reiterated that to a few people over the years. I was sort of watching, obviously I'm an experienced athlete, and I would have given it. I don't think that any of the guys competing had an issue with that record, apart from maybe Big Z, because he took his record off him.
I've spoken to Zydrunas about it, Zadrunas,
I'm not
it, by the way.
happy.
Calm down at the end of the table. No, I mean, Zadrunas, his only thought was, well, I would have liked to see second refs, blah, blah, blah. There was never a second ref in any of his world records, certainly ones that I refereed. So it's got to be seen there at the moment. And even Zadrunas, he was totally respected that. It's very hard to tell whether somebody's a world record unless you're there live and you can feel someone's locked it out. Truth is, I think Biby actually locked it out once and then re-locked it out because it's so difficult for him to get his head through his biceps that he had to then do a double movement again. So I think, Zadrunas, I don't think he doubts it at all, actually. So I think those who are online, people will always moan online. Come see it tomorrow. Tune in.
If I can speak, maybe one thing I can add, it's one of the reasons why I lost weight, because I find I was getting too massive, and it's hard to press when you have wide shoulder and be stable. So that was one of the reasons. After last year competition, I dropped down to like 40 kilograms. I lost 40 kilograms, and now I did put on more weight. But still, I'm not wide like I used to be. So tomorrow, actually, I will. I think I'm very nervous at the same time because it's like a new Iron Biby, so I will know myself better. It's a new version, new shape, but honestly, I'm feeling very, very strong.
Thank you. It's a question for Eddie. Welcome to Glasgow. It's great to see you here at this competition. 2 questions. Firstly, what was it like singing at the Royal Albert Hall? And secondly, we're going to hear your voice tomorrow.
Royal Albert Hall was, I keep saying it's once in a lifetime experiences, but both years I was able to sing, and both years were just as crazy. First year being able to beat everyone at the Hercules hold, and then the second year being able to take the Nicholstone record and being the second athlete up. And for tomorrow, I'll definitely be singing, and we'll see who would like to join me. Otherwise, ready to rock the show.
What are you going to sing?
The Proclaimers.
We'll see.
You know the Proclaimers?
You'll have to tune in.
The Scottish band, you know.
I've got a question for Pat O'Dwyer. You've made a name for yourself as the funny strongman, as the entertainer. But mate, great events for you tomorrow. Are you going to be on that podium?
If it was any other event than the log, any other overhead event, I'd easily be on that podium, I think. My worst overhead is my log press. But I've been working on it. I've been trying a couple of new things. I've tried to jerk a lot in my off season.
You'd be good at that.
It came.
You're really good at that.
It came quickly to me. And it's kind of paid off because I've been PBing on my log at the gym. So hopefully, I don't think many people are going to hit the 200 kilo tomorrow. Probably a handful of guys. So I think there'll be good points in a 185 log. So that's the kind of just damage control with the first event and smash the rest.
Yeah.
This one's for Terry. Terry, you've been around the sport for a long time. I was wondering, as an athlete or as a fan of the sport, what is your favourite memory of Giants Live?
I mean, I've got good memories competing and being involved behind the scenes, or in front of the camera, or whatever role I'm doing. Probably my favourite memory when I was competing was getting my third place at Europe's Strongest Man. When was it? 2018, 2017. Just because I'd sort of, that was when I started my journey with losing weight and things like that, and to come back then and get a podium at Europe's Strongest Man was a big thing. So that's probably my personal favourite memory. From the other side of it, I mean, Biby's axle at Royal Albert Hall and Eddie's deadlift are literally two of the most monumental moments I've seen in the whole of the sport. It was, out of this world good. The noise in the Royal Albert Hall when Biby hit the axle was unbelievable. I was down on the floor and it was literally, the floor was shaking. And obviously we all know about Eddie's deadlift and the build up to it and the hype and everything, and it lived up to it. It was two absolutely incredible moments in Strongman as a whole, not just Giants Live.
This is a follow-up question on the same vein, but to Colin. You were there for both moments. can you compare what makes, or in contrast, what makes both of those moments so special individually?
Well, I mean, both of those moments were two of the most important records in Strongman. And, you know, you can do a record on, you know, duck walk world record, you know, invented last week kind of thing. People, you know, you can't pull the wool over people's eyes. There's blue ribbon events, and, you know, Axel is one that's been around since Lewis Apollon. So it's got real history. Deadlift, there's been more deadlifts pulled than any other weightlift movement ever done. So for those two particular disciplines, it was just there's no BS. It is what it is, and both of them, in particular in Eddie's case, you know, there's very few world records that are beaten by more than 1%. So to you know, go over, I think it was over 5, maybe even 6% above the previous world record, was just an extraordinary leap forward, a Bob Beamon moment, if you like. And, you know, as for Iron Biby, inside the Royal Albert Hall, it also was compounded, like a, you know, multiplication thing with the fact we were in the Royal Albert Hall. We were there, you know, it was last there in 1902 with Eugene Sandow. This was just history compounding, you know, what was a historic moment in modern strongman with a historical event. So it was beyond belief, really. And also it was actually the loudest ever non-electrified sound they'd ever had in the Royal Albert Hall. So there was 2 world records done at once.
Just on that, Colin, there's a nice bit of footage between you and Darren having a conversation of whether you should let Biby try it for a 3rd time. What were you saying there, and what were your thoughts behind letting him?
Well, I guess the question had been asked via Neil Pickup, the MC, from Biby to me. I turned to Darren, of course. Darren is you know, head ref with Magnus and runs all the equipment and everything, and is you know, so it wasn't for me to say. I had to turn to Darren to get his okay. But by that point, the crowd had started to take over that question themselves. They were chanting away, and we had a wee chuckle because I think initially it was probably not was going to be the answer, but I think Darren smiled at me and went, you know, had a smile of we'll get lynched if we don't give him another go. And the answer was, I think Darren had said it, actually, this is a scenario where all other athletes are finished. There is no advantage for Biby to have another go. He'd already won the contest by some margin. He wasn't gaining any more points. In fact, he was only fatiguing himself for other events. So in this scenario, you can give someone an extra go, and that's something that's been going on in professional sport for a long time. Highland Games has been going for hundreds of years. So we absolutely gave him another go, and we were rewarded with it.
So you would do the same tomorrow, given the chance?
And twice on Sundays. Yeah.
This one's for Biby.
Yes.
What do you think, all perfect circumstances, is the most you could ever press overhead?
I think, to be honest, I will focus on the 230, and I talk a lot with Darren. He was helping me with my prep lately, so we will stick to plan. And he said if I can press 230, and I can ask anything I want. So that's our deal. So finger crossed, and if that happens, I'm sure the 230 will happen. We're gonna find out tomorrow.
I didn't mean specifically tomorrow. I was more talking about your body's potential over the span of your career.
And I pressed 233 kilogram in training. So it is in training. To me, it doesn't count. Competition is a different game. So yes, let's say if everything is connected, I believe I can do 240.
Any more questions, folks?
Is it true that you've military pressed 260 kilos?
It is 100% true. And 2020 was my best year of pressing. I was just pressing, and at some point I didn't believe, like, I thought my arm was legs for me, like I was pressing anything and anything.
So do we.
So, yes. So yeah, if everything is connected and my mind is ready, it's like now, like, you know, I really want to. So I went down after my father passed away. Like, I could tell, like, I went in depression. I didn't want to live, and nothing was fun. And now, like, everything is back to normal in my head, in my life. So I believe, like, if I stay focused and I listen to watch to what the coach say, I believe I can do a big thing, and I'm making to do history tomorrow.
Just a question for Colin, and then I'd like to open up to the whole panel. But Colin, congratulations for you and Darren hosting a very successful Britain's Strongest Woman recently in Doncaster. And the question is, where do you see the future of women in strength sports?
I think, for me personally, that was the most enjoyable show I've ever been involved in. And Rebecca Roberts is right up there with Mark Felix as a hero for me now. I think she was just, what a story. And they all had great stories. I mean, it was terrific. It really was. And there was, you know, Strongman has become very professional. These guys are all serious professionals. And you know, there's much bigger money than there ever was 10 years ago. Massive compared to 20 years ago. The women's side still has a certain amateur beauty about it, though it was, you know, the biggest one-day prize money show that they'd had, and that was nice to be a part of, because although these stories are lovely and they're all doing it for glory and they're doing it for personal reasons, it's time to bring it, you know, as close to parity as we can, and ultimately it'll be the fans will decide. You know, they'll help us bring it up because they'll be the ones funding it.
The same question to the panel. Where do you see the future of women in strength sports?
Do you mind if I take that first?
Please. Yeah.
I mean, I think the beauty of that was, in a lot of sports where they're very male dominated, and you get a lot of people complaining that the women don't get the opportunities and stuff like that. Firstly, congratulations to Colin and Darren for actually giving them an opportunity and sort of really trying to push the women's side of the sport. But the other thing is, a lot of people complain, but then they don't show up and support the events for the women. So they moan that the women don't get paid as much in sport, but then they don't turn up and support it. The crowd were incredible. They all showed up and were so invested in it all, and they were part of the whole event, and I think that's part of what made it such a good day, because the crowd were so into it that it just felt like one sort of machine that was all sort of working around each other. And for me, I actually tend to agree. It was an unbelievable show. I remember we spoke on Sunday morning for England's Strongest Man, and we were like, the boys today have got a lot to follow up from. The girls did an amazing job, and you know, I'm quite a stoic person a lot of the time, and Rebecca's story and sort of her talking on the mic, I think it got us all a little bit emotionally, and it really sort of tugged on everyone's heartstrings. So for her to win, it was almost sort of poetic. And I'm good friends with Lucy as well. She put on a fantastic performance. And then we've got the girls that paved the way, like Andrea and Donna and people like that have really sort of been, you know, banging the drum for them to get this opportunity. So I just see it growing and becoming bigger and better. And that was the first one. So, you know, for them to start at that level, I think when I started competing at Britain's Strongest Man, it wasn't at that level. No. So they're already ahead of the curve for sure, and it's going to keep getting better.
This is a question for Colin Bryce. So, Colin, Giants Live's been going for about 15 years now. It used to be in car parks and fields and such like. Now it's up here in Glasgow for the fourth, fifth time, record prize money. Where do you see Giants Live going in the next couple of years, yourself and Darren? Where are you going to take it to? And is Strongman in a good state at the moment? We just talked about women's Strongman. Just give us an overall impression of where Strongman is in Giants Live.
I think Strongman overall is in a magnificent position. I think there's much to come. There's things we have in the offing, Darren and I, that I think we're quite excited about. And Darren and I are the kind of guys who also need a challenge. We come from, both of us, a fairly serious sporting background. We don't just want to, take it to this level, then just peter along, because it will just peter out. So we've got to try and get something bigger, better. Every show we try and do bigger and better, and that's just kind of who we are and where we are. As for the rest of Strongman, there's been a lot of talk, and some of it a bit unpleasant, actually, I think, about people, different promoters, this, different promoters, that. I think anyone who's got the balls to be a promoter should first of all get a pat on the back, and I think we need a whole lot more of them. And if you can bring prize money and eyeballs on the sport, then good on you, because we can need a whole lot more. Where do I think we're at? I would say, considering how well we've done in Britain and all the arenas we've done here, if you extrapolate it out from, let's just say, our YouTube audience, British audience, is about 7 or 8%. So I would say we're probably around about, if this is saturated in Britain already, I don't think it is, but if it were, then we still have at least 93% of the world to go, 92% of the world to go. So yeah, we're less than 10% of the way there.
This one's for Par. Ireland's Strongest Man's coming up soon. I heard you're not competing there. Are you scared you're going to not be able to defend your title?
Yeah, I'm scared. So scared. I'm shaking. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll do it yet or not. It depends how I come out of this competition, injuries wise. If I'm fresh, I'll do it and win it. If I'm not, I won't.
And follow-up question, what do you think about the talent in Ireland at the minute?
The which?
The talent in Ireland at the minute.
The women. Unreal. Better than any country I've ever seen. I love them.
Is it not essential, though, Pa, that you do Ireland's Strongest Man to qualify for Brits?
Yeah, like I say, unless it depends on how I get on here. I think in Glasgow, if I put in a well enough performance here, I think it should qualify me maybe to Britain's Strongest Man. If not, I will do Ireland's and qualify. I'd like also as well for other Irish guys to get their chance at Britain's Strongest Man, which is kind of the reason I was in my head to maybe leave the guys at it. But like I say, I'll see how we come out at the other end of this show tomorrow.
Anyone else?
Yeah, another question for Biby. It's well known you have the strongest shoulders in the world. It's well spoken about. It's the evidence is there. We would love to see you at Worlds again and doing full shows again. Is that possible for you?
Yes, it is possible. For people that know my story, I used to do full shows. That was back then when I lived in Canada. Now I'm back home, so I'm busy, and also I don't have all the recovery process. And let's say in my country, the sports science is not that developed. And I've been training with no massage, no treatment. So I need to be careful. For example, let's say if you get a chest tear, you will have to fly to in another country like Tunisia to do a surgery. So at the same time, I have to be careful, and also I'm busy with work. We have schools with more than 10,000 students, so I need to play safe. But like I said, for people that know me, I used to do full shows, and actually that's how we met. Yes, so I'm planning to start doing that again because I'm still young, 31 years old, and I'm working on my body shape, and I'm coming slowly. So people will talk, and I will not rush. I will go on my time, because at the end of the day, if something happened to me, it's my life. Nobody will be there to help me. So yeah, I will play my game, and also, I know I'm helping a lot of people. So yes, I will be doing full shows, and it's not a rush.
Just a question for Eddie. Eddie, were you surprised at how much you beat the Nickel Stones record by? Because you absolutely smashed it. And did you do any specific training for it?
Yeah, so for the Nickel Stone, for training, I was practicing the 10-second. So a lot of people I've seen on most of their training footage, they were practicing the first run, but then dropping it and just leaving it, where I was practicing the 10-second drop and then kind of resetting and going for another. I think I did 40 meters in training with the 10-second hold. So I think because I practiced it that way, I was able to get that distance.
Okay.
Mr. Biby,
Yes,
a couple of years ago you came here and the pressure was on to do the world record.
yes,
And there was much documented kind of, there was sadness around you when you
Exactly.
came here, and you had great motivation to do the world record.
yes.
How is it different turning up to Glasgow this time? What is the motivation to take the record that one step higher if you can do it?
And they said someone can be strong today, but it's not sure he will be stronger tomorrow. So it's always a hard thing to beat yourself. And Glasgow has been very good to me. And I have a good energy, I have positive energy, I have a good feeling about doing something special tomorrow. So I broke the record in Glasgow, and tomorrow I will break it again.
Come on.
Of course he's going to do it. First man to do 230 kilos, guaranteed. So we'll see. Anyone else got any questions? We've got Tom Stoltman's just joined us, so if there's any questions for Tom, please fire.
Bit of a two-parter, Colin, for you and Tom.
Yep.
So we all know Tom is the king of the stones.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow we've got a brand new set of stones, which is the heavy stones. One part Thor holds the record on the heavy set of stones.
Mm-hmm.
Now with a new set of stones at the same weight, is that record still applicable to this set of stones? And Tom, if it is, are you going to break it?
Yeah, I mean, if the weights are identical and the stones are identical, which I believe they are, then yeah, absolutely the weight stands. It's exactly the same equipment, exactly the same heights. So as long as all things are absolutely equal, then it'll be ratified and it would be a record. Tom, you think you can do it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, 100%. I think Atlas stones are obviously my thing, and I train on the Atlas and students stones. I think, I think if I'm last up, I'll have a big advantage as well because they'll have some tacky on them and they're brand new, and it's going to be good. But yeah, I'm ready to break it. I think I've actually probably this prep is the most I've ever trained Atlas stones in the gym, so it'll be good. It'll be good.
And let me just say this, folks: a new set of stones is no advantage. It's no advantage. As he just said, the point of what he was saying there is that if it doesn't have tacky on it before, which is the pine resin they put in their hands, actually it's much harder. So in many ways, it's a harder world record to do. That's fair to say, isn't it?
100%.
So yeah.
You will do it.
Maybe.
It's a question for Tom. As the former double world's strongest man, what's it like competing against the current world's strongest man?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I think Mitch Shill brings a lot to the sport. I think, me and him are going to be 1 and 2 for a long, long time, and I think he's taking this sport to levels that we've not seen it for a long, long time. And I think the battle, the back end of World's Strongest Man has been very, very good, and it's going to be very positive. I just want, I'm back to my 100%, and I just want Mitchell to stay around next year and go to World's Strongest Man. Me, him, Martins if he's back, and just battle for the top 3 because it's going to be really, really good. And I'm getting that title back 100% because I'm ready. And yeah, Mitchell, let's do it next year. Come on.
The one for Tom. Tom, 2 years ago, you were cruising to a victory here. Then you had a disaster slip up on the stones.
Here this comes.
Does that moment live in the back of your head when you come up to a stone run now, or can you wipe that out of your memory and just go for it?
Yeah, I mean, I watch it quite a lot because I think it motivates me. I think since that moment, I've been pretty consistent with Atlas stones. I don't think I've dropped many points on the stones since then. So, yeah, I think it was just a very weird moment. It was me and Evan as well that basically did it identical. So that's never going to happen again, and I will never let that happen again. But now it motivates me to be bigger and better at stones. And since like I said, since that day, I think I've won nearly every stone run I've done. So yeah, it's made me a better stone lifter.
For Tom, a Canadian becoming the King of Scotland, how does that make you feel?
He won't be becoming the King of Scotland. He won't be becoming the King of Scotland.
So do you mind if let me just ask you a question. Tom, are you in as good a shape as you were in at Worlds? And what have you done to actually make sure he doesn't come here and grab the King of Scotland title?
Yeah, I mean, I think, for me, I just have to focus on myself. You see a lot of social media talking back and forth and all this stuff, but I know if I focus on myself, that's what I did when I won World's Strongest Man 21-22. It was like, I was against Brian Shaw and stuff, who is obviously an amazing athlete, and I just focused on myself. I had that tunnel vision. I just looked at that white line, didn't think about anyone to the side, to the front of me, and that's all I did, and that's all I'm doing for this prep. You know, I've got some hard comps coming up this year, and I've prepped very hard for this, but I think mentally I'm in the best place I've been, and I think all round I'm better than I was at World Strongman 2021-22. Statically stronger in the log press, rep deadlifts going better, so I want to make a statement, especially on the log, because I think, you know, Baby brother's going to take over Luke for the log press tomorrow, 100%.
Please, any more questions, anyone?
One more for Tom. Tom, you've come a long way since we competed together in 2016. You're now a two-time world's strongest man. You've eclipsed me a little bit from our contest back then. Do you see yourself becoming a six-time world's strongest man?
I mean, yeah, I think, as I said, I owe a lot to the sport. I think, you know, obviously being diagnosed with autism as a little boy, finding the gym, and then finding Strongman, finding, you know, Giants Live, finding World Strongman, and being able to have a focus in my life, have a sport that, you know, I go into the gym, I be depressed, and I leave the gym happy, and I fell in love with the gym, fell in love with Strongman, and fell in love with competing, and, you know, I'll never ever stop this sport until I die, and my goal is to be the best of all time. That's winning World Strongman, multiple Giant Live titles, multiple Arnold titles, multiple road titles, just every title. But yeah, I won't be leaving this sport ever. I'll just be doing this till the day I die, because I owe a lot to the sport, and it's given me a reason to live. So,
just to further that, are you saying this, Tom? You think it's possible you could beat your big brother in the log tomorrow? And how far can you take it?
Yeah, I mean, training's going, as I said, very, very well for it. That's something that I've been very focused on. I think a lot of people know me that my rep for logs and my log medals are very, very good, but statically with a log I needed to get better at that, and yeah, I've dialed in so much in that, and you know, training, I've been doing a lot of big numbers as well, and yeah, I mean, going by training, I would be better than Luke right now in the log, but training doesn't matter on the day it does, and you know, I like the jumps the logs is right now as well, and those jumps have suited me in training, so yeah, we're going to see something. We're obviously not going to see something as big as this guy, but I plan on coming top 3 in the log at least. So.
How was your log in Shaw?
Right, if that's it. Sorry, yes, Jordan, last question, please.
Question for Tom Stoltman. It's well known that you and your brother bring the best in each other. Competing together always spurs you both on. Have you thought about him retiring, how that's going to affect you? It's surely coming soon.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Luke about this a lot. I think, you know, I'm the one that is kind of kicking him out the door a wee bit. But no, I mean, I think, in all honesty, Luke needs to protect himself. I think when you're 30, 39, nearly 40 years old, you can't do every single sport and every single competition a year. It's just impossible. And I think he has to just pick and choose his comps. And I think, you know, Luke, before he ends his career, wants to get a podium at World Strongman. I think it's no word or lie. He's talked about that a lot. He wants to stand in that with me. And for him to do that, I think he has to pick and choose competitions. And I said to him, I think he needs to take a year where he can just focus on one competition and do that, because like I said, he's maybe got 1 year, maybe 2 years left him, and I think for him to be, you know, leave that legacy, he needs a podium at World Strongman. And yeah, if he leaves the sport, I'm just going to keep that name going, and it's going to motivate me to keep getting better, to keep getting stronger. And Luke's never going to leave the sport anyway, he's always going to be around. But yeah, we've talked about it a lot, and I think I've kind of said to him, you know, you can't just be doing 5, 6, 7 comps in a year, because his body's going to collapse before he does anyway. So.
I've got a question for Darren Sadler. Can you explain the log lifts for tomorrow, the jumps, and the other events, the weights for them?
So the log lift tomorrow is starting at 170 kilos and then going to 185, 200 kilos, then 210, 220, and then hopefully 230. We've got Biby, who is joining us as just a guest. So obviously he's the favourite in that event, but a lot of these guys are pressing well over 200 kilos. So it's going to be an interesting event. And obviously everyone apart from Biby will be carrying the points through to the rest of the competition.
So with the events tomorrow, there's a lot of moving events. Quite a good show for a well-moving strongman. What were your thoughts behind that, and who do you think is going to be on the podium?
We've tried to always make the events where we've got something like a max event, we've got a deadlift that's 350, so quite a heavy weight, and then we've got a couple of moving events like Colin's wheel and the sandbag medley. So it just tests all-round strength and stamina, which is what we're all about really. And I think it's not just about the biggest, strongest guy, it's about who's got the most heart as well. So I think a few of these newer guys are going to surprise people because they've got a lot of stamina.
This question's for Evans. How has your Giants Live experience been so far, and how were you feeling to get the second invite after the deadlift champs?
To me, it was a dream come true always, and I couldn't believe it. Sitting here with like the world's strongest man, current world's strongest man, and having to learn from him has been everything to me. Like I always keep saying, I enjoy the sport and I love to see people have fun. So seeing the crowd go crazy in Cardiff literally made my day. I'm looking forward to having the same impression here in Scotland, Glasgow.
I do want it on the record that we started by playing 18 holes of golf. Evan shot at 95. It was mini putt, so it was a real poor start to the Scotland experience.
Yeah, but I actually won the bowling. I beat the world's strongest man at bowling, and that literally added to my title.
How many strikes?
I had four strikes.
Only 4, that's good. Win's a win.
Good haul.
Awesome. I'd like to move to Luke Stoltman now, if I could. You've been very vocal recently about Tom, your younger brother, being the strongest man in the world. You really do believe that. How do you feel he's at right now for this show coming up? Obviously, Mitch is the current world's strongest man, so we are expecting a really good battle. So I just want your thoughts on that battle, really.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an awesome battle. See, Mitch is the world's strongest man, so technically, I guess by that, you'd have to call him the world's strongest man, which means the strongest man in the world. But as I've always said, I'm very biased, and I get to see Tom do what he does. So for me, I think Tom's the strongest man on the planet at the moment. And I think tomorrow it'll be a great show. Mitchell's one of those athletes that never kind of ceases to amaze you in what he does. Very gifted individual, and so is Tom. So, but then also we have this guy next to me, Europe's strongest man, myself as well, wanting to win that. So although there's a battle between Mitch and Tom, but I think Mitch and Tom will both say that the field is very stacked. So their battle is with everyone, not just each other.
This one's from Mitch. You came here last year. It was your first Giants Live win. You've since won World's Strongest Man. Are you back here to reclaim that title, or to defend it, sorry?
There's nothing else to really come to do other than win the show. So yeah, but I really don't think of it that way. I just think every time I turn up, I'm here to win. And if that's defending a title or trying to get a new title, the intention's always the same, and I always prepare to win.
What are the biggest obstacles you think you'll face in stopping you from winning? What athletes, certain events?
I genuinely, I think it's a 6'8", 200-pound bastard named Tom Stoltman. Yeah, I mean, it's him and I we've gone back and forth a couple of times this year, and I think when we both turn up in good shape and we do what we can do, it's a pretty good heavyweight battle, and I think people are really excited to see that, and it's really one that's gone back and forth. So I'm excited to hopefully get another one up on him.
Mitchell, how does the title of World's Strongest Man bear down on you during competitions such as these?
Athletically, not at all. Emotionally, quite a bit. It's difficult having everyone sort of hyperanalyze you, everything you say, every movement you make. It's more things outside the event. Say I was on a podium earlier this year, and there was a lot of chatter about not looking happy enough on the podium. And I know that if I wasn't World's Strongest Man, you wouldn't be under that level of scrutiny. So it's a privilege to be looked at that way. But it's certainly one that if you forget about that privilege, it bites you in the ass.
And a question for Pavlo. We've got Conan's Wheel tomorrow, which is an event that you excel at as the current world's record holder. So two things. How do you think that will go for you tomorrow? And secondly, what was it like breaking Darren Sadler's record in front of Darren Sadler at Europe's Strongest Man this year?
I don't care about records, and I don't think about that, about numbers. Just preparing to whole competition, every event, and just try to do my best as always, because if you start thinking about records, numbers, it gives you extra pressure.
Okay, thank you. And question for Darren. Darren, any chance for comeback with the Conan's Wheel?
Definitely not.
Not tempted?
No comeback. Definitely, I'm done. About 10 years ago. But I mean, with these events, that's the great thing about this show. You've got someone like Pavlo, who I think is going to do very well in that. I can't see anyone beating him because he's so good at it. And also things like the sandbag load. and then you've got obvious guys that can press a lot of weight as well. So obviously you've got the front runners that are Mitch and Tom, but I think you're going to get a few surprises with people taking points. You've got Mac Rag here, who got to the final in his first ever World's Strongest Man, performed good at everything, and I think he's going to surprise a few people. I think Pavlo, again, is so talented. We've got the new guy here. I feel he's going to be good at the moving events as well. So I think there's going to be a few nice surprises, which means people like Mitch and Tom can't afford to drop any points. You know, they're going to have to be on the toes at the events that maybe they're not quite as good at. They are going to do well at the log and stones and things like that, but you know, the sandbag steeplechase, one slip and you're in 8th place, and then you're probably not going to win the show. So, and they've got to go as fast as they can, so it's a lot of pressure.
This one's for Luke. You're one of the best log pressers in the world. I've not seen much of you training recently on log press. How's your log press going for tomorrow? What kind of numbers are you hoping or expecting to be hitting?
Yeah, for me the log's a good event, always has been. I kind of been vocal about some issues with my right shoulder, had some treatment for that. It was pretty shitty for a few sessions. You know, it just wasn't working right, but the last kind of 2 or 3 sessions was quite nice. Last Friday I went up to 195, an easy 195, so I know when I get switched on, get fired up on the day, there's going to be a lot more than that. So I'm not aiming, as Pavlo says, you don't think about numbers for me. I'm just there to win that event and then move on. But if, you know, if I come up, I hit whatever, and then the world record's feeling a little bit tasty, and I'll give it a wee shot again. You know, I'm not one of those guys that's kind of smart enough to hold back sometimes. So especially if it's a log press. But yeah, it's just another event for me, and hopefully it'll go well.
Cool. I have another question for Evans. I want to know about the lead up to a show, not just in terms of training, but nutrition. Is it protein focused? Is it carbs focused? You know, for that week leading up to the show, and then Thursday, Friday.
So I'm really grateful for my dietitian, Ellis. Currently on like 9,000 calorie a day, which is really hard to consume because I knew I was coming up against the big boys, Mitchell and Tom, of course, Kordiyaka. So I had to put on some weight. I've had problems, you know, gaining body weight. I've been stuck on 134 for a very long time, which is still like the case at the moment. So it's been lots of protein, lots of fats, and lots of carbohydrates, I would say. We see where it goes tomorrow. We see how it ends up.
Mitch, you had a good reaction to that 9,000 calories. What's your take on that?
9,000
calories. Mitch, do you think it's too low?
I reckon if Evans did a little bit less singing and dancing, the energy expenditure would go down, and he'd probably need to eat less.
That's why he needs 9,000 calories. Yeah. Come on.
No, I don't know how one consumes 9,000 calories. I'm 10 kilos heavier, and I'm at about 5,000, 5,500 a day, and energetics don't lie. I do much less dancing, much less singing, much less jumping around. So maybe a bit of Ritalin and you'd knock off a couple thousand calories.
To add up to what he said, it's a privilege being here because you get to learn from the pros. You know, you get to like correct a lot of mistakes. So I opened up about this, and actually I had feedback from the guys. You know, actually that being too much, so I'd probably have to go back, do my homework properly, and come back later. So it's a privilege being here, like I said, talking, opening up, and you know, having feedback and advice. It's an advantage. It's part of the show. It's a win. You know?
Another one for Mitch Hooper. Are you going to knock out Eddie Hall?
That's a great question.
That's such a good question. Oh, that was so deep.
Well, to be honest, I think if it goes past the first 3 minutes of the fight, he'll start to knock himself out. And if it goes to the 5th, 6th minutes of the fight, I don't think it's going to be all that hard to be able to get the upper hand. But to be honest, it's just it's an exhibition. I think that's what's important. And all goes through, all happens. It's it's not that we're trying to be professional MMA fighters. I think that's important for people to understand. It's just about big guys getting in a ring. And for me, it's just a new athletic endeavor. I've played many sports in the past, and I'll play many sports in the future. So it's just it could be a bit of a shifted focus for a couple of months. But for me, that's all it is, a couple of months, and then straight back to Strongman.
How much are you getting paid for it, Mitch? Show me the money.
I wouldn't be doing it for free. We'll put it that way. Absolutely not.
Okay, then, so things go your way and you win. Would you rather fight Brian Shaw, Pudzianowski, or Martin Ford?
Yeah, it's funny that Pudzianowski's getting brought into it. He's not involved at all. But considering he knows what he's doing, definitely wouldn't be him. And then Brian, like, I just imagine, you play it through in your head that Brian, if he got a hold of you with those big mitts, he could easily then lie on you. And I'm thinking, like, if you got those forearms going to your head, it's like a baseball bat to your head over and over. But Martin Ford, his head is really, really small. So then, like, it's a really tiny target. So I don't know. I'm happy I'm starting with Eddie, to be honest, and then probably Eddie and then Martin. But the primary goal is just learn to protect myself well, and then however it pans out, it pans out.
You going to get the half Thor or call to get Eddie tip?
I think that would give Eddie too much inspiration to kick the shit out of me that I probably should avoid any contact with Thor.
This one's for Pavlo. You're one of the favourites for the podium tomorrow, but you've got 4 strong events here and you've got 1 week on the deadlift. Do you think it's going to cost you a chance at the podium?
Fucking savage, mate. Fucking hell, bro.
It's okay. It's okay.
Fucking hell. I like Mr. Deadlifter.
It's always my weak point, my deadlift. But 2 months ago I won Europe's with my big deadlift, and I did only 3 reps and have a few more in tank, and it was enough for win. So we'll see. There is really strong and big guys like Mitch, like Tom, who is favorite for tomorrow. But we'll see. It's competition. Everything can happen.